I am here with Aaron Landry, a Minnesota blogger, and he's the kickoff of our Get to Know a Blogger series. So, Aaron, how did you start blogging?
How did I start blogging? I started blogging in late 90s, early 2000, just putting out my thoughts. And what it ended up turning into is it read kind of like a live journal. It was kind of a personal collection of rubbish of what I was thinking going on, and it was just kind of like a weird place that I ended up venting. It was really amateur. It was very immature in a way. So it didn't take too long before I just deleted all of it and said, screw it. I hate blogging. Blogging's dumb. It was very naive at the time. In 2002, I ended up getting a Danger Hip Top, or the T-Mobile Sidekick they called it. It was like right when they came out, and that was like 02, 03, and immediately started posting photos from the device online, which at the time was revolutionary. It was the most amazing thing. And then, of course, everybody else and all these other camera phones were able to do that, you know, with a year or two later. But I kept doing it for about 3 years.
So you're doing event blogging with that too, right? You were doing event blogging with that too.
Yeah. It was also convenient to have a browser on a device, that long ago in internet time.
Right.
And to be able to live blog, so to speak, right when that was, this is before Twitter and before all that kind of stuff, was kind of it was a really new thing. It was a really new way to consume an event, and I would do that with political conventions and other events where I would be able to give updates, post it on a website, and other people online would be able to read it.
Sure.
So it was, it's pretty commonplace now with Twitter. And
so you were twit picking before before Twitter.
I was twit picking and live tweeting before there was Twitter.
Nice.
I started I started getting bored of that, and not really sure what I was going to blog about, and I was planning a trip to Washington, D.C., and I realized, kind of looking at my trip, that I was going to 5 different cool pizza places with 5 different women, and I'm like, wow, that's kind of a compelling story. So I just wrote about the pizza part, but what it turned into is when I came home, I'm like, oh, this is kind of fun just to take, decent photos of pizza and, just write about my thoughts about it. I mean, I didn't consider myself a reviewer or any kind of expert or anything like that. But over time, I've learned so much more about pizza, and learned so much more about the history of pizza, and learned a lot about different people that make pizza and all the ingredients and the origins of pizza, and the different styles around the United States and the world. Which kind of brings me to here. We're at Punch Pizza now.
Punch Pizza. There we go.
In Highland Park. And here, it's kind of a funny story where I was writing about some pizza and was here with a friend and decided to go out and take a couple exterior shots, and because I was going to write about it, and I kind of pointed my camera over towards the oven, and then people in the kitchen, they were like, no, you can't take photos of the oven, and I'm like, this is weird. So I was Googling on this to see if anyone else had the same issue, and people on Flickr were complaining about the same thing. They're like, why won't they do this? And so I wrote a post about it. I knew the pizza was fine, but I said in there, it's like, I think I spent half the post kind of complaining about this weird photography policy, and said, if I'm going to steal an idea for a pizza oven, I'd go to Naples, not Highland Park. And didn't really hear too much about that until about, I think it maybe been about a couple months later. Then John Puckett, one of the co-owners of Punch, emailed me and said, we're doing a 180 on our policy, and we're going to actually have a photo contest on Flickr of people to take photos of our pizza, of our oven, of our spaces. And I'm like, is pretty smart.
So you're the origin of the punch pizza photo.
Well, I don't know if I want to call myself the origin, but I'm certainly a catalyst. So
Catalyst.
I was certainly a loudmouth, and I certainly caught their attention. And it's interesting because a lot of time when you write, when you publish stuff online, you don't really realize the kind of impact that you might have. And I've realized that, like, a lot of times I've had more impact when I realized that, or when I've never even thought I was going to have any impact.
Right.
When I try to have impact, usually it fails. But in this situation, I was like, I was just, one person complaining, but it was loud enough where it got right up to them, and they decided to change the whole thing. Right. I mean, since then, I mean, they've done a whole bunch of other more experimental stuff online. They're putting coupons on Flickr and last-minute deals on Twitter and stuff, and they've been, pretty experimental and cutting edge with that ever since. So it's been interesting to see how, like, in terms of a PR perspective, in terms of like an online media perspective, how Punch has kind of turned around.
So you went from your pizza blogging was at Saxton
S4XTON.com.
Correct. Okay, and now you are doing food blogging writ large.
Right. I co-own, or I'm the producer of an online food magazine called The Heavy Table, and luckily I don't write. Most of the stuff we have, and my editor James Norton, who is a very long time food writer, very experienced food writer, and a bunch of books, and he's a contributor to Chow.
Okay.
He's former writer with the City Pages and a bunch of other publications. It's he and a bunch of other writers and photographers that we have that do all the writing and photography for the site. I'm more on the producer end, which is a lot more fun for me, where it's like I get to do everything else to make sure that the people that are doing the writing, photography, and editing can focus on writing, photography, and editing.
All right.
So I kind of actually like it more than blogging myself, but then I kind of get caught back into it again, and so I keep updating and writing about pizza every now and then as well.
You've still got your personal blog, so and then you're also doing political blogging.
Yeah, sometimes I get wrapped up in political issues where I'll have an opinion on, and want to share it and see what other people think, and then I got the attention with the folks at mnpublius.com when I wrote about some stuff about Al Franken, one of his opponents for the for an endorsement of potentially a primary, and the way that I wrote about it, they're like, we want you on board. And so, as people involved with politics know, once you start, you get completely sucked in. And so, throughout the whole cycle, I ended up writing about Franken and Coleman and a lot of issues that weren't at first being covered by the media, and trying to bring a lot of those things to light. And it turned into like a hobby that consumed me every evening. And but as a result, got a lot of press and got a lot of things that I wanted to get out. Ended up, a few of those things ended up becoming mainstream and national news. So,
cool.
So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And what do you do for a day job? Does this take all your day?
Well, my day job, 3 days a week, I work for a design firm in St. Paul.
Okay.
And then on the side, I have a few other clients that I do like online and technology consulting for.
Okay.
And then the Heavy Table. So between those three things, that's about my 8-day work week.
Pretty busy, yeah. And how can people find you?
I'm at Saxton.com. Again, that's S4XT.
on.com.
Right. S4XTON.com, or at Saxton on Twitter, spelled the same way.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks. Really good to see you.
Okay.